Hello, everybody. Hello. We are here. We are live from the studio. And I just hustled over here from the arena because I was at the game, got to witness that win for myself, which honestly, I think going into this game, most Broncos fans, if not all Broncos fans, felt like this should be an easy dub for the Broncos. Now, we've talked many times on this show in this very studio about how in the NFL should be looked at as an easy matchup or an easy win by any means, just because we know that the nature of this sport and these 53-man rosters across the NFL are all still NFL players. This is the highest level of football. So no game is considered easy. Now, going into this game, the Broncos did have that mini bye week after taking down the Saints in a pretty convincing way. And this Panthers team 1-6 going into this game, the Broncos 4-3. So yes, there was that expectation that this should be a win for the Broncos based on the way this Broncos team has been trending. In comparison to Carolina, should have been a dub for them, and it was, thankfully. Now, Bryce Young thrown back into the mix for this Carolina team. So again, one of those games where you really can't underestimate what you're going to get from the other side of the ball, which is the Carolina Panthers. Bryce Young getting thrown back into it. He was 24 of 37, 224 yards, 2 touchdowns for him. So not a bad performance by Bryce Young. However, Bo Nix, I've got to give some credit where it's due, and I want to start with this. Bo Nix is our guy. Okay, I am fully convinced of this. Yes, it took me until week 8 to come to terms with the fact that Bo Nix is our quarterback. He is our quarterback, obviously, based on Sean Payton's decision and him winning the quarterback competition. But I am fully bought into Bo Nix. I've seen what I've needed to see through 8 weeks of play. I am bought into Bo Nix. I am excited about Bo Nix. I think that there's a lot of upside with Bo Nix. Yes, he's not perfect. He's still a rookie. However, he is our quarterback, and I think he does a great job at running this offense when he needs to. We have seen progression from Bo week after week after week. Even if it hasn't translated in a win, we have seen him made progress. And in this game specifically, he had the most passing yards. The most passing yards by Bo in the first half of any game he's played this season happened today against Carolina. He had 220 passing yards at halftime, 2 passing touchdowns, and 1 rushing touchdown. Okay, so Bo Nix really came out the gates in this one. And that was my hope. My hope was, listen, I know it's Carolina. I know this isn't a game that we can really hang our hats on and be super excited about, because we know, and we're going to talk about it in a second, that the Broncos have some stiff competition coming up. Their schedule doesn't necessarily get easier. So yes, while I do know that it is just the Panthers and this should have been an easy dub for the Broncos, Bo could have flopped in this one. There were a lot of still uncertainties, in my opinion, with this Broncos team. We've seen really exciting nuggets offensively from this team. Our defense, I don't even need to talk about our defense. Today, I got to witness another Pat Surtain interception. It was not a pick six this time, but the last time I got to watch him against the Raiders, it was a pick six. So I love getting to see him back out there and healthy. He is obviously a huge difference maker for our defense, but our defense still, without Pat Surtain, almost held the Saints to no touchdowns. They had a late touchdown in that game, which I was really hoping they would avoid. But besides that, our defense has been insanely consistent and competitive and has basically kept this Broncos team afloat. Now, our offense, we've seen little nuggets. And in my opinion, what we've been missing is just 4 complete quarters of football by the Denver Broncos offense. We're starting to see that more and more. And my hope was, going into this game, I didn't expect the Broncos to prove that they're going to be a playoff contender, or they're winning the Super Bowl, or they're one of the best teams in the NFL. No, I wanted them to continue to build off of the little nuggets of promise that we've seen offensively. Last week against the Saints, Javonte Williams, 2 rushing touchdowns, finally showing us what he had worked on in the offseason. He shed some weight. He got back to his college weight. He got faster. He got stronger. And we saw that against the Saints. I was hoping we would just continue to see our run game build, because that has been a struggle for this offense, for this Broncos team. And I was hoping to just see Bo Nix continue to play comfortable and confident football. And I feel like we're seeing that with him. I'm really excited about what Bo Nix can bring to this team. I think that he is in a system where he's going to be well coached. He's going to be supported. And honestly, Bo Nix, we're starting to see some promise on in terms of his receivers and him getting the help that he needs as well so that he can do his job. So best performance first half specifically by Bo Nix that we have seen all season long. And again, what we've seen in some of these games, Raiders is a great example. That matchup, the Broncos did not have the momentum to start that game. So it did feel like, oh, this could really go south, or we could get a Pat Surtain pick six that's going to flip the momentum around. But the reality is we can't depend on our defense to always cut our offense a break and to get our offense back in the game. Our offense has got to start right from the beginning. And honestly, dang it, we were close. We had a fumble. I believe it was by Lil Jordan Humphreys early in the game. And the reason that I know that, not just because I was watching the game and I was at the game, was because I also bet on Courtland Sutton to catch a pass from Bo Nix in the first drive. And while I think that was probably going to happen, because the next time that the Broncos got the ball, Courtland Sutton was open and ready to play and having some really great moments with Bo Nix, connecting a lot with Bo Nix, or vice versa, if you will. So I knew that it was coming, but unfortunately we had the fumble. We turned the ball over. Now, from a turnovers perspective, much better by this Broncos team, and honestly, that's a huge thing. There were 2 turnovers by the Broncos, 2 by the Panthers, but again, when you can eliminate some of those penalties as well, it does make a huge difference. The Broncos only had 4 in comparison to the Panthers' 8. Total yards, 400 total yards for this Broncos team, 284 for the Carolina Panthers. Our third down efficiency, 11 in comparison to the Panthers' 5. These all make a difference. They make a huge difference, especially third down efficiency. Oh, to have the edge there against any opponent. I don't care that it's the Panthers. Don't get in the comment section and tell me it's just the Panthers, Liv. Of course they were better. No, there's no of course. As a Denver Broncos fan, you never feel like, of course, this should be their moment. No, because you always get let down if you think that way. So I did not go into this game feeling like this is going to be an easy dub, because I've only seen, like I said, little nuggets of promise by this offense, have not seen a full, complete 4 quarters of football. And I feel like we're getting closer and closer and closer to that. Like I said, Bo Nix is our guy. I'm excited about him. I am fully 100% bought into Bo Nix. Did it take me 8 weeks to get here? Yes, it did, but I'm here. So from this moment moving forward, if you hear me get a little too negative Nancy, a little too complainy, a little too irritated by Bo Nix, and I start to lose a little patience, bring me back down to earth. Also, before we keep talking about this football stuff, can I please address the elephant in the room? Dwyane Wade's statue is despicable, disgusting, and psychotic. What were they thinking? I'm sorry. In 10 years, if I'm talking to my kids and I'm going, oh yeah, that's Dwyane, I wouldn't know if that's Dwyane Wade or not. They did that man so foully dirty. You can hear the crowd die down in cheers. You could see Dwyane Wade. I'm sure his mind was moving a million miles per hour. That statue is disgraceful and psychotic. I'm sorry. They need to redo it. It is so foul. It is so unacceptable. I saw that throughout my timeline while I was watching this Broncos game, and I was like, no way they did this man that dirty. There is no effing way. And they did. They did. They had a fog machine. They made this big deal about it. What did they think was going to happen when they pulled those curtains back? For God's sake, it is horrible. Sorry, I know this is a football show, but I had to go there because I'm just at a loss for words, really. It's horrible. So anyway, we'll get back to the football talk. I am bought into Bo Nix. It took me 8 weeks to get here, but I am excited about him. I think there's a lot of upside with him, and I'm feeling very, very excited. Okay, today was an interesting day of football. The Ravens took an L. And the only reason I'm bringing up the Ravens, Liv, we don't care. Well, you should, because the Ravens are the Broncos' next opponent. The Broncos will go on the road to face the Baltimore Ravens. We know this is not going to be an easy game. The Ravens are stacked. Their quarterback is Lamar Jackson. But listen, if Jameis Winston can take down the Baltimore Ravens, is there a little bit of hope for Bo Nix, who is a very tough quarterback to sack? He is very mobile. He's physical. He's playing more confident. He's finding his receivers a whole lot easier. Listen, one thing I would love to see one thing I would love to see us grow on is the use of Lil Jordan Humphreys. I really like him. I really do. I think he has a lot of upside. But I do think he gets a few unfortunate passes thrown his way. Passes that are difficult to catch. And I think that if you are a stats person or you're just kind of watching with the naked eye and you're not really invested in the game, it does look like maybe Lil Jordan Humphreys lets us down quite a few times. And maybe, yes, he does. He did have that early fumble. Didn't love that. But, it happens. It is what it is. There's a few passes to me that I think could be a little better towards Lil Jordan Humphreys, because I do think he has a lot of upside, and I think that he can kind of be a go-to guy for Bo Nix. But what excites me a lot about this team just in general is every week we're seeing Bo Nix get a little bit more comfortable in using more guys on the field, right? Yes, Sutton is his go-to. 8 receptions for Sutton for 100 yards. No touchdown actually for Sutton in this one, but he was a reliable guy for Bo Nix in this game. Then you had Happy National Tight End Day, baby. The tight ends are going ballistic. The script is scripting, okay? Shout out to our tight ends. We had Troutman. He was the next most targeted receiver here for Bo Nix. 11 targets for Sutton. 4, I believe, if I'm not mistaken. Yes, 4 for Troutman. Quite a few different guys being used. Actually, if you want to know in full transparency here in terms of receptions, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 athletes on the field being utilized by Bo Nix. We are seeing this offense kind of diversify itself a little bit. It was feeling a little bland, a little stale. I think some of that obviously has to do with play calling, which is out of Bo Nix's control. But we are seeing more guys being utilized, and I just think that that makes our offense a little bit harder to read. It's going to be harder for defenses to prepare for the Denver Broncos if we're using everybody. Vele, 3 receptions. 4 for Lil Jordan Humphreys. Could have been more, but there were a couple missed catches there. Again, I think some of those balls are just tough for him to catch. We had Williams, obviously, Javonte Williams with 4 receptions. Javonte Williams on the ground, 17 rushes for only 44 yards. So again, wanted to see a little bit more of that Saints game energy from Javonte Williams, because again, that was the first game, to be honest with you, that I saw Javonte Williams breaking tackles and really looking like he had what we need to have a powerful run game. We've talked many times on this show. Run games matter in this day and age. The way that this game has evolved, if you can't run the ball, you can't win a game. Now, that's a very generalized statement. I understand that you can still win football games if you're not running the ball. If you have a reliable quarterback that is slinging it, you can still win games. Listen, the Broncos went into halftime with a lead. They weren't running the ball entirely well, but guess what? Bo Nix was throwing the ball very well. He had his best first half performance, 220 passing yards going into halftime, 2 passing touchdowns, 1 rushing touchdown. If you're not going to run the ball well, then shit, you better pass well. That's all I've got to say. And we saw that with this Broncos team. So again, we're not going to see perfect performances by Bo Nix. He is still a rookie. He still is getting acclimated to not only the NFL, but also Sean Payton's very strict and very particular offense. Is Sean Payton perfect? No, he's not. But I do feel like we're starting to build some chemistry here offensively. Our defense has been phenomenal, and I believe will still remain phenomenal throughout this season. Just for your guys' brains, we should be hearing also from Nate and BK. So if you're sick of hearing my voice, you'll hear theirs very soon. But if you're sick of hearing my voice, you're just a hater, because we're just sitting here chatting, having fun, talking Broncos. And the Broncos are now 5-3. Okay, I took the Broncos over 5.5 wins this season. I'm feeling pretty good about that. I did just find some wood and knock on it, because you can never feel too good as a Denver sports fan, but I am feeling pretty good about what the Broncos are doing and the way that they are trending right now. Let's talk about what they have remaining for them on their schedule. Next up, the Ravens. The Ravens just proved that they have holes in their system. Somebody said, great jacket, Liv. She's a cowgirl. I actually asked one of my friends if I should wear a hat to the game, and they said, that feels a little costumey. And I said, well, it is spooky season, so maybe it is a costume. Maybe I am channeling my inner cowgirl, but thank you so much for the compliment on my jacket here. We're going to hear from Nate. We're going to hear from BK, and we're also going to hear from coaches, players, and everybody on their thoughts about this great win, maybe how they're preparing for the Ravens next week. You know how Sean Payton is. He's very much, yeah, that was great and all, but we've got more games to play. We actually have Sean Payton's interview, post-game presser, available and ready for us right now, so we're going to run that. Let's check out what Sean Payton, head coach Sean Payton, has to say about that awesome 28-14 win against the Carolina Panthers. Let's check it out.
Pleased we got the win. There's a handful of things when when you look at the tape, I'm sure we'll see tomorrow that we're going to have to clean up and correct. And there'll be some things that we really liked, that we did well. We can't keep turning the ball over. That's frustrating. And I didn't like how it finished, but it's good to get a win. Questions?
Yeah, after the first drive there, you had touchdowns on 3 consecutive drives. Looked like you had the middle of the field, Cortland and Troutman running open. What did you see with them that into your game plan?
There's some different coverages. This is a team that'll play some base defense to your nickel, so they'll be a little heavier in the box. I thought we threw it pretty well in the first half, and then I would say I'm anxious to see the film. We've run it better. You know, I think we still had our rushing attempts, but you know, we'll see the film and get a better feel for that. We're still not playing our best football, but again, like I said at the onset, I'm pleased we got the win.
Bo is developing as the season goes on. How important can a game like this be in terms of the passing game and what you guys were able to do with him today? You know, can you build off that going into Baltimore?
Look, for a rookie quarterback, and look, I think all of these are steps. You know, confidence steps. We've seen it. The key is, and I've said it. The key is around him. You know, are we good enough at these other positions around him? All right, and that's what we're constantly looking. We have to paint the picture, and when we do that, we'll have success. We'll move the ball. Today we're much better on third down, better in the red zone. 2 wide receiver fumbles. You know, just is what it is. Bothers you.
Coach, I was going to ask about third down, 8 of 9 in the first half. I think started 10 of 12. Just what did you see there that allowed you guys to have success?
Man, I thought, well, we had a few tempo plays. Then we felt like we had a good third down plan going in. You know, we had some other opportunities and some big play opportunities that on one of the third downs, but we got to build on that because what we've been is not really sustainable, you know, to success. You've got to improve in that area. It's been a focal point, so I was pleased with that.
After LJ's fumble in the first series and then they score a touchdown, what did it say just, I guess, about your defense in particular, but your team overall to sort of put that behind you and take control?
Yeah, I mean, look, we felt going into this game, we felt like we had a good week of preparation and a good plan going in. We have good leadership on this team. You know, the most important thing is that their expectations can't be lower than mine, you know, as players. They have to I said to them, we're going to play in bigger games than this. But in bigger games than this, some of those mistakes are going to cost us. So we've got to take care of that.
Adam Troutman just seems to be a guy that does a lot of stuff for you. When he gets to have kind of a game like this where he's making plays and getting involved, how nice was that to see?
Yeah, well, he lined up illegal at the end of the game, and that ticked me off. But he made a nice catch. He does a lot of things well. He's versatile. He's smart. It was a heck of a read. You know, we got a blitz. They kind of played a little cloud behind the blitz, and real good throw and catch. You know what you're going to get, and so there's a value in that as a coach if you kind of know what you're going to get in a player each week.
Oh, sticking with Troutman. Oh.
Right behind you. Oh, you guys are together. All right.
You're good. Sticking with Troutman, was that an emphasis going into the week to try to get him more involved in the passing game?
No. I say that, no. I think sometimes it's a byproduct. So there's a play that's for Sutton. We get a 2 blitz, so that technically there's a pressure player coming, and then they roll the coverage behind it into Sutton. And so, man, away from the rotation is where Troutman is. And I say that respectfully to Adam, but I think it just some of those plays. Now, the naked was a big play for us, but that could go to a few people. So it's hard to sometimes predict like who gets this play. It's just, we want to get the QB on the move. Sometimes the first read, which would be LJ, gets it. Adam did a good job finding that deep window. But on the touchdown pass, if you would have given me our roster and Dot, who I think scores on that play, he would have been near the middle to bottom. Real good throw and catch. Yes.
Coach, after the first touchdown the Panthers had, they went 9 straight drives without scoring. How impressive and how impressed with you were the defense today?
I was. I wish we would have finished better. I said this, it's not a good offense we played. It's just the truth. So we expected that, and we're going to see a lot better teams.
Coach, how are you going to use your frustrations in terms of preparing for Baltimore? And are you going to sleep okay tonight?
I'll sleep fine. I'll sleep fine. We have a good game, a big game this week against a much better team. All right, against a much better team.
John, straight back.
Yeah.
Well, I was going to kind of ask to that, after losses or even after wins, you say the 24-hour rule, but knowing the Ravens and they lost, but a big game, how quickly do you shorten up the 24-hour celebration? Like, how quickly do you move on to that good team?
We're on the schedule. Tomorrow we're watching this tape. We're all in there. It's important. This can happen sometimes. In losses, you can miss some things that are really, really good. And then in wins, if you're not careful, you can miss some things that have to be cleaned up. So we'll try to do that tomorrow and then flip the page for Baltimore and get ready for a real good team.
Sean, it looked like Horn was yelling at you after the game.
I coached his father, and so I was yelling back at him. And I think, I don't know what the exchange was, but his father I enjoyed coaching, and I enjoyed him. He was frustrated. I think he was yelling at one of our other players. So I like him. I think he's a good player. Anything else? Thanks.
Sean Payton is such a hoot. I mean, if he's not interrupting the absolute hell out of reporters, he is like only answering questions that he feels like he needs to answer. And listen, Troutman, great game, but don't tick him off. Don't line up wrong. It's pretty simple. I mean, he's just a very straightforward individual. And for that, I respect him. I don't always agree with what he does or how he acts or whatever, but you got to love his very straightforwardness. He doesn't sugarcoat a thing. I loved a lot of his responses today. There is that level of, don't get carried away by this win against a team like the Panthers when you've got other teams right around the corner that are going to be it's going to be a very different football game against a team like the Ravens. Let's talk through that schedule a little bit. The next game that they play this coming Sunday is against the Ravens on the road. Then they have another road game against the Chiefs. Yeah, these are not going to be easy games for them. Then they play the Falcons on November 17th. That could be, in my opinion, a dub for the Broncos if our defense plays the way that our defense needs to play, because we know, listen, love Kirk Cousins to death. I love that he's got a little bit of Atlanta swag to him right now, but our defense could swallow him up, and I really hope that they do. Then we play the Raiders on the road. We've already proven that we can beat the Raiders this season. I think the Raiders are kind of in a little bit of a rebuild mode here, as are the Broncos, but we're a little bit deeper into it. I think the Raiders fans, I actually have a Raiders fan sitting behind me over here. Can't believe we even let him in this building, but he's one of those fans. It's like, listen, hey, if we're not going to win games, that's fine. Let's hit rebuild mode. We've got Tom Brady, as a part of our organization now. So maybe there's not a ton of urgency by this Raiders team to get dubs. I'm not saying that's the NFL script here. I'm just saying maybe that's their mindset. The Browns, that should be an interesting one. They've had a quarterback change. We play them December 2nd. They just had a quarterback change, but we've now seen Jameis Winston. He is locked in. He is ready to play. I also don't even think that DTR is a bad option at quarterback for the Browns. So that's not going to be an easy one. But the Colts, on the other hand, listen, Anthony Richardson, love him, love his play style. We may not see him healthy by that week based on the way that he plays football. So there are some games coming up that are going to be tough for this Broncos team. So I appreciated Sean Payton saying, yes, let's celebrate. Yes, but we're excited. It was a great win, but there are still things that we need to tidy up. It was not a perfect football game. And in order to compete with teams like the Ravens and the Chiefs that are our next two opponents, opponents. Not easy. On the road, they're going to be tough games, and it's going to require the discipline of this Broncos team to say, hey, yes, we did get a big win. We're excited about our win. We're 5-3 now. We're on track to have a really great year, but there's some tough competition ahead. And this was something that we discussed on this show a few weeks ago when we were still kind of in that limbo phase of what is the identity of this Broncos team? Are they good? Are they bad? Are we getting lucky? Are these fluky wins? There was kind of that uncertainty that lied with this team. And I think in that time period, that's where I got a little bit stressed out about all these little tweaks and changes that we need to make, and messing around with play calling and who's the playmaker offensively, who's Bo's go-to receiver, what does our run game look like? We have no identity with that. In those early weeks of this season, I was worried we were still going to be experimenting with that in games against the Ravens. You can't really afford to do that. You've got to know who you are. What is your offensive identity? We've locked in our defensive identity, thankfully. So that's one group, one unit that we don't have to worry about as we approach this Ravens team. I feel very confident having PS2 back. He got an interception today. Like I said, it's like Christmas Day when you get to watch PS2 in person live getting an interception, because he's just phenomenal, the best in the league. Fight with the wall. I don't care. It's the truth. So love our defense, love the identity that they have established. I think they're phenomenal. Offensively, we've had, like I said, those little moments of, yay, this looks really good, but we're not putting it all together yet. We're finally starting to see that. I think we've seen now in the last 2 weeks of play against the Saints during the Thursday night game, and then again today, we're seeing it all get put together for 4 quarters. Does that make it perfect football? No, it doesn't. But we're finally seeing things trending in the right direction, playing a little bit more of a complete football game, 4 quarters being played, very tough, very aggressive. Sean Payton, before we even heard from him, I had mentioned the same thing. They looked better on 3rd down, and God bless America, because that has been the Broncos' slow demise for some time now. 3rd down efficiency just hasn't been present in the city of Denver. So glad to see that starting to move in a better direction. Penalties, yeah, you got to watch out for that. Obviously, Sean Payton made it very clear. Troutman ticked him off. Do what you're supposed to do. Can't make those little costly mistakes, because that will be the difference maker against a team like the Ravens. You kind of have to go into that game prepared to make very limited mistakes if you're going to play Baltimore and hope to either keep it competitive or win that game. We are now seeing that the Ravens, they are a beatable team. I know it seems crazy with this Broncos team going up against Lamar Jackson. Liv, there's no way it's not going to happen. 1, crazier things have happened on an NFL Sunday. And 2, the Ravens have holes in their system. And we thankfully have a defense that can expose those holes, okay? Now, what we need in order to beat this Ravens team, in addition to our defense that can expose what's wrong with this Ravens offense, is an offense that can actually compete as well. Can you put points up on the board? And we're finally seeing that happen. Bo Nix is our guy. I'm 100% bought in. We have a comment here. Shouldn't our biggest goal be consistency, Liv? Yeah, it should, Cedric. It absolutely should. 100%. But I do think when you have a rookie quarterback, there has to be a level of grace that you allow. Look at me. I've grown so much this season. It's actually crazy. I deserve an award. Liv Moods, having grace and patience. Yeah, it's very rare. So while you've got it, hold on to it for dear life, because it won't be happening very often. Ask me how I feel about the Nuggets right now. Patience gone. See, just like that. Poof, it poofed into thin air. We're done. Anyway, back to the Broncos. Yes, I do think you have to have a little bit of grace and trust the process that is Sean Payton. I'm not saying I always agree with Sean Payton, but I am saying, and I said this very early in the season, last year, Sean Payton had to do a little bit of cleaning up before he could even be the coach that he wanted to be, or create the team that he wanted to create. I was a little nervous there with a start to the season that wasn't super bright, wasn't super like, woo, okay, Sean, I see what you've done here. You've added some people to the roster. You've taken away some people from the roster, and it's not really translating. It just required patience. This comment says, have the ability to put up more points, catch the ball. Let's go Broncos, period. It's that simple. It really is that simple. So really quick, my patience that I have created within myself. No, see, I'm a liar. can't even keep a straight face because my bestie is actually on with us and ready to hop on and say hello. And it is my bestie that has created this patience deep within my soul because I am a complainer and I'm not always satisfied, Nathan. But you have told me we're going to need some grace with this team. I gave a little grace here and there per your, per your request. And here we are, 28-14, pretty convincing win. We're watching more complete football with this Broncos team. How are you feeling?
I'm feeling great. I mean, 28-14, they did leave a lot of points on the board though, Liv. I mean,
Yes,
Sean
they did.
Payton was actually not that happy. I mean, you guys are going to hear it when you hear from Sean Payton.
We already listened to
it.
it.
You just
and
did.
he did
Okay.
not seem happy.
Yeah, it was a
no.
little relative to the turnovers. He was not too excited, right? So he's a
Troutman pissed him
perfectionist.
off, and he admitted that. He said he got ticked
exactly.
off by Troutman. I was like, whoa, okay.
Right, so
All
Troutman
right.
has the best game of his probably career, 4 catches, 82 yards, and a nice touchdown. But it's the little mistake you made that was a 5-yard penalty in a 14-point win that you are going to hang on to. So that's what that's part of the quirk. That's part of the quirk of Sean Payton, and it's why he is so successful. It's why he's hard to work with and work for. But it's also why he has won a Super Bowl and why he won 10 games a year every year. I mean, he won. He was there for 15 years, and they won over 150 games. He averaged over 10 wins a year in New Orleans. So the standard is very high. He demands excellence from his players, and when he doesn't get it, that's what he dwells on. That's what he harps on. So they're going to come into the facility tomorrow, and despite winning by 14 points, he's going to point out all the places where they fucked up, and they could have scored more points. And so it's going to make them feel like,
that F-bomb. Say it with your chest.
We're on the internet, right, Liv? I mean, shit. What are we going to do here? But so yeah, as a player, it's not easy to play for a coach like that, but it's also brings out the best in you, right? So they're not going to go in there tomorrow and be like, yeah, we're so awesome. This is great. We're going to watch film. This is going to be a high five session. No, they're going to watch film trying to improve because guess what? Baltimore Ravens are waiting, and they just lost to the Browns today,
And
so they're going to be
pissed
off.
off right now. They're pissed off right now.
Yeah, so they got to play a lot better football, and Sean Payton pointed out those mistakes that you guys made today that didn't really cost you, those will cost you against a better team. And so this was the type of team, the Panthers, where you could really kind of try some stuff. I mean, they did the throwback with Cortland Sutton and they tried the fake on the punt, or no, I'm sorry, on the field goal, little stuff like that you typically wouldn't do against an opponent you respected more and that you didn't think you could get away with it with. So the Panthers, they were able to score a touchdown on that first drive, but then they went 9 straight drives without scoring, and the Broncos really were able to kind of put their foot on the Panthers' throat. That said, a couple fumbles by receivers. What? Why are you laughing?
I love that.
I mean, it's very visual, right? Just stomp on them. No, the Broncos have to feel good about where they're at. 5-3. What are they, won 4 straight? No, not 4 straight. 4 out of 5.
No, I said the same thing at the game. I was like, I think they've won 4 straight. And then I was like, no, the Chargers game kind of screwed us up a little bit. But
yeah,
sorry.
But they're rolling. And Bo Nix was dealing from inside the pocket. Looked like a pocket quarterback. Wasn't running around a lot. Used his legs just to buy some time. Made some nice throws, but really not relying on that. They didn't call a lot of scripted runs for the quarterback either. And so I think this is a confidence boosting game for Bo Nix. 2 yards shy of 300 yards passing, threw for 3, 0 picks again, and ran for a touchdown. So a big fantasy day for Bo Nix as well, right? So you got to feel good about what you saw there.
So don't talk about that for too long or I'll get pissed.
Well, I mean, it's not your fault for not starting him right now. He hasn't been like the biggest fantasy quarterback, but maybe it's going to change. Maybe next week you're going to change.
Him or CJ Stroud, one's a little bit more proven and reliable than the other. So I was like, whatever,
Yeah.
Well, let's talk a little bit about Bo Nix. Besides all the things that you just said, he did also have his best first half, 220 passing yards at halftime, 2 passing touchdowns, 1 rushing touchdown. This is his best first half of football. And I think the promise in that is that we have seen this Broncos team find a little bit of offensive rhythm when it's too late in the game. It's like you're already down. There's no time left on the clock. So it was pretty exciting for me to see them kind of come out the gates, because one thing we have talked about a lot is that complete 4 quarters of football. I feel like we're getting closer to that. Are you feeling better about that after watching the game today?
Yeah, and actually they had to respond to the Panthers scoring a touchdown, right? So
fumble.
you weren't planning on that, right? Yeah, so there was a fumble. Obviously, that's not Bo Nix's fault. LJ Humphries fumbles the ball. They go back down and score. And so now you have to respond. And so it's not just like, let's execute in the first quarter, but you're down 7-0 in the first quarter. You give a team like that some life. All of a sudden, they go up maybe 2 scores, and then you're in a ball game. And so I like his ability to respond to that, to lead him right down this field, score a touchdown. Next time I had the ball, right down the field again, score a touchdown. And so, yeah, I mean, it's the first quarter that's going to get you a nice little lead that you can then tee your defense off on the opposing quarterbacks and then lean on them with a running game. And so it's nice to see the Broncos come out of the gate with some pace and some urgency on offense and put up points. I mean, they left some points on the board here today, Liv. I mean, they could have scored 42, right? I mean, those couple turnovers. Cortland Sutton had a turnover on the goal line, darn near. And, Sean Payton got up in his face and yelled at him about that on the sideline. Was like, that's 2 times. Like, he was pissed. Sean Payton's pissed. They're about to win this game. Yeah. And
why didn't you de-escalate it, Mr. Uniform Man? You
hey, man, I'm just, you're right. That's a violation, coach. Back up, please. Now,
hey,
there's some guys with
the game. Let's back it up, fellas.
Yeah, no, there's some guys with. See, you don't see this. This is how I watch the game now. But these, I mean, their undershirts are all hanging out, all sloppy, and I'm like, guys, nobody else sees that. But now I have to write it down. I'm violating
You know what?
these guys.
I gave you a shout out today. My mom is sitting right over here. She's sitting right in this room with me.
Why did she jump on camera?
Get over here, Mom. She's stressed. But I did give you a shout out because she goes, oh, they all have matching socks. They all look so put together. And I go, yeah. You want to give a shout out to my guy, Nathan? He's a uniform man. I go, he gets to be a sideline Karen every time their uniform gets out.
Hey, pull your socks up. No, I'm like the stylist. I'm the team stylist is what I am.
You are. That's a better way to put it. Mom, come over here. She said, I'm good.
She's fine.
Sassy
She's
pants.
fine. She did not sign up for that.
Pants.
So okay.
I want to ask you about one more player. We talked a little bit about Bo Nix, but I do want to talk about little Jordan Humphries, okay? Because there was the fumble. There were a couple balls that he didn't go ahead and get. But honestly, watching in person today, I feel like there's a few passes towards him specifically. He gets put in some tough spots sometimes, but I do think there's a lot of upside with him, and I think that he could really be huge for this Broncos offense. Do you feel the same way, or am I just riding a little bit of a high right now?
No, I really like LJ Humphrey. I mean, today he had a couple balls that were not great throws. I mean, he had to really lay out for him. And that one that was deep down the sideline, he kind of located it pretty late, and it kind of hit him. That was a really hard over the shoulder. When you look in, then it's over here, and you throw your hand out last second. So that's a really tough adjustment. But the fact that he's getting those balls in these crucial moments, he's on the field with the first unit, tells me a lot about what they think of him. I mean, he was a New Orleans Saints player, right? And so he's here because Sean Payton liked him, his potential as a Saints player. And now he's also a very physical, big receiver who can block. And when we overlook that conversation a lot when we talk about receivers, it's just about how many catches you're making. Well, it's really, to me, what I learned when I got here from Rod Smith and Ed McCaffrey was that your virtue as a receiver, you're going to if you catch 8 balls a game, well, what are you doing the rest of the 50 plays you're in? You better be blocking. You better be blocking your ass off, because these running backs are running up behind you, and they need a lane. And if
running
you don't block,
up your what now?
Come on, why are you always taking it there? Why, Liv? Come on, we're talking ball, okay? Ball, football.
I'm sorry, you actually gave me an alley-oop right there. I mean, I had to slam dunk it. Like, that's just the facts.
I teed it up for you.
You handed it right to me.
And you rammed it home, didn't you? So anyway, the receivers have to block, okay? And he's a big physical dude. He plays all the special teams. They really like that. I mean, I know from experience that when you're a big receiver and you can do a lot of special teams and you play physical in the running game, your coaches really like you. They want you out there, because you're doing things the right way. And then when you get a chance to catch a football, LJ Humphrey knows what to do with the football in his hand. Yes, he had a fumble today, but that happens sometimes. I mean, this guy's, I think, the best receiver with the ball in his hand. He knows how to break tackles. He's hard to bring down. He used to be a running back in high school. Well, a lot of people don't know that, but yeah, so you can just see that familiarity and comfort with the ball in his hand, and I like him a lot. I think he's a huge asset to this team. He's a football player, and he can do a lot of different stuff, and so you're seeing those opportunities come his way.
I like it a lot, and honestly, again, 11 receivers being used today across this offense. We're seeing Bo Nix just get a little bit more familiar with the guys that he's got. And I think that was a large concern for Broncos fans was we don't have playmakers. We need more playmakers. He doesn't have enough weapons. And I think we're starting to see that trust the process moment. You would have been so proud of me today because when LJ did not catch that ball that you're talking about where he looked over, I gave myself one of these and I said, I don't think that was his fault. I don't think that was his fault. I think that was a tough ball. I think that was a tough pass. I'm not saying it was Bo Nix's fault either. I just think that was a tough look there. Your patience is wearing off on me, and I don't really like it.
Well, I mean, it's paying off because the Broncos are 5-3, right? We're getting victories, and maybe, just maybe, Liv, it's you that's creating this sort of momentum by being patient. You're putting it in the air. Your energy is contributing to the Broncos on this little streak. So don't stop now. Keep doing what you're doing.
I'm going to do my very best. I actually think I'm being very patient with the Broncos. I'm not sure I have it for two sports, though. The Nuggets, they might turn me back over to the dark side because I've had enough.
Well, there's 82 games, and how many have they played? Two
very painful ones.
Okay, well, there's 80 to go.
They've played 2. It feels like they've played 75. Yeah. How's that?
Well, maybe you're taking it too hard. Maybe you need to relax a little bit.
Okay, that's fair. That is true. That is fair. A lot of exciting things happening, of course, for this Broncos team. I felt like that was a game. Again, we talked on this very show together about the fact that we want to see them build off of what they did against the Saints. Do you feel like they did that? I think our run game was better against the Saints for sure. They got the rush attempts there, but weren't really making. But again, when you've got Bo Nix with 220 passing yards in the first half, you don't have to rely on the run game as much. So it feels like it kind of balanced itself out in this one. Do you feel that same way?
Yeah, I do. I think Javonte, lacked a little bit of a burst today. Jaleel McLaughlin had some nice runs, but ultimately the running game. But they didn't really lean on it as much as the passing game. And to me, today was about establishing your presence as a pocket passer and showing that you can pass the ball, you can throw the ball. The Broncos were 29th, I think, in the league in passing yards. It was not good. So that's going to change now. They're going to jump up a little bit because of what they did today. And so a lot of people on Bo for not being a pocket passer and getting the ball out with technique and on a good platform, and he did all that today. So I think that's really important to establish that. They threw the tight ends today, which they hadn't been doing. That now they have that feather in their cap. So I think it's just adding confidence. The running game is going to be there. Obviously, you're going to need it, but you're going to need what they established today as well. And I think Bo Nix showed that he can deal from inside the pocket and can be a pocket passer. So I feel really good about that.
I haven't checked yet, but we'll end with this because there may be a line available. Your guess for the line for betting for the Broncos-Ravens game. How much? Because I do believe that the Ravens will likely be the favorite in this one. How much do you think that the Ravens will be favored by? And we'll see how close you are when we actually talk about it tomorrow on the show.
I say probably 4.5, something like that.
4.5?
Yeah.
Okay. I was going to give them a little bit more than that, but listen.
What are you going to give them?
I was going to say maybe like a 7.5.
Oh, wow. No. I don't think.
Listen,
4 or 5.
when you think the way that I think, though, then you're less disappointed when it's,
That's true.
Actually, let me just really quickly check because it might actually be available already. Let me just really quickly. I'm going to say 7.5. You said 4.5. Let's just really quickly check, and then I'll let you get out of here. I think we've got Bo Nix's post-game presser available for us, so we'll be able to hear from him. Holy shite. 9.5 points. The Ravens are favored by 9.5 points. Oh, you lost me. Do you hear me now?
No, it's been fine until now. Gone.
Okay. Did you hear? Can you hear me now?
Yep. Gotcha.
9.5 points.
What? That's wild.
There you
go.
That's
disrespect.
Broncos are a 9.5 point underdog on the road. I based on what you said, I feel like we got to take them to cover at least.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
Amazing.
Yeah, we're trying to win that thing.
Hell yeah. Well, you're the best, Nate, and we'll be back tomorrow together in studio live for another episode of Off Field. Bring your game-changing play. Good or bad. Hopefully it's on the positive side, but good or bad, bring your game-changing plan. We'll break down the X's and O's with you tomorrow at 11 a.m. Mountain Time right here in the studio.
All right. Go Broncos. See you later.
Bye, Nate. All right, everybody. My bestie Nate hanging out with us. Just love my co-hosts on this show. They are just fantastic. I have to say really quick, this is a little off topic, but I've hosted a lot of different shows, co-hosted different things. I'm currently co-hosting a lot of different things, and I will tell you that Off Field is one of the most fulfilling shows I have ever done in my career. I love my co-hosts. We have so much fun. I learn a lot from them, and we just ultimately have a really good time. So really quickly, we're going to run Bo Nix's post-game presser. We're going to hear from him, and then I should have my other bestie joining to then debrief on what we heard from Bo Nix. We'll talk through some things, but let's hear what Bo Nix has to say about that 28-14 win against the Carolina Panthers.
Bo, especially in the first half, you guys had a lot of success in the passing game. I think 220 yards for you at halftime. So what do you think it said about this offense to be able to go out there and perform like that in the passing game?
I think we got it in our arsenal. We just got to go out there and execute and use it like we did. And I thought we did a really good job of starting fast and doing it early. And we kind of caught a good rhythm there. And, everybody on the field was making plays. Receivers, tight ends, running backs. Didn't matter. The ball was being dispersed to a lot of positions. And I thought that's good. Tough on a defense when you're getting a lot of guys involved.
Hey, Bo, over here on your right. I guess that's probably statistically your best game as a pro so far. Did it feel that, did it feel I say easiest, I know it's the NFL, but where things were just working?
Yeah, I thought I had good vision throughout the day. Guys were out there making, good catches, great plays. And so, yeah, I thought we put a complete game, at least in the first half. We got to do better in the second half. Trying to find the same rhythm that we had in the first half. But overall, I thought it was good, growing each and every week and, finding ways to get better.
Bo, the Cortland Sutton had 100 receiving yards today. It's the first time that a Broncos had 100 receiving yards in a couple of years now. How big was it to get him really involved and going?
It was huge. I thought he came to play today. He had several great opportunities, made the most of them, and, he was just a good target for us today and started early in the game, and then, he's just kind of feeling it. So I thought that was a good part of our game plan. We really wanted to get him involved. And, I thought it was really good. I feel bad for the people that sat him in fantasy this week.
Your coach was talking about how, against better teams, some of the mistakes that were made can't be done. Is that the way you feel, too, as an offense, that, you're pleased about what happened, but there's still plenty of the film work to correct going into Baltimore?
Yeah, absolutely. A win's a win, especially in this league. They're tough to come by, but thought it was a good home win. But there's still every game you go back to the film and you find things and you're like, man, we were close there, we were close here. We got to be able to do this there, and I think that's part of the game. That's why you keep playing. That's why it's a long season. So we just got to keep battling that and keep finding ways to get better.
Bo, how big was third down for you to move things? And like you talked about, you just want to get those first downs. And also, could you critique Cortland's throwing style?
Well, first I'll start with the throw. They played on top. He put some arc and pace on it. I thought it was really good back shoulder there. It was impressive. He's coming after our jobs in the quarterback room. So thought that was good. Obviously it was a fourth down. We needed it. But overall, third downs is something that we wanted to be better at, and we were better today. I think a big part of that reason is a lot of 3rd and 4s, 3rd and 3s, 3rd and short. So that helps an offense is when you stay in manageable third downs and they don't know you're definitely passing it or whatever. But still some on the field that we probably could have gotten, but that's, again, goes back to that's why you play the game and that's why you do it over and over. So we're pleased, with the growth that we had on third down, but we're still going to try to continue to, make that number higher.
Bo, Coach said that I think he told you guys either before or after the game that your guys' expectations as players have to be higher than his, that you're going to play in bigger games than this. What does that mean to you in terms of what he's saying, that message, and the importance of leadership in that regard to kind of handling a little bit of prosperity?
Well, it's, I think one thing that sticks out is, you got a coach that really believes in his players and believes in his team. And, high standards for a coach, to me, is the ultimate, sign of respect for a player. If you have high standards for a player, then you see some potential or you see something in them that, either they see or they're trying to see or whatever. But I feel like we have, high standards for ourselves too. And that's why we continue to go back and work and continue to show up and practice the way we do and, work hard and prepare and, all those things. So I feel like it's great respect, from him. He sees something in our team. And now we got to, be able to execute and go out there and, have the high standard like him.
Yeah, Bo, after you had a couple big rushing games, the last 2 games, they were calling you a dual threat quarterback. You said that's fine as long as you include passing. Is it more satisfying to have a big passing day like today?
It's more satisfying to win. And so whatever that means from a quarterback, I'd go out there and throw for 0 yards and we can hand the ball off every time and we can win the game and I'll be the happiest guy in the locker room. And that's not being complacent. That's just being, having perspective that this is a tough league and, it's not always easy to go out there and throw for a lot of yards. It's also not easy to go out and run for a lot of yards. So you just got to find ways to get yards. And in our case today, we, ultimately had success and got, some points early and, we were able to hold on there at the end. So we're going to have to continue to find ways to do that. And, I'm willing to do whatever.
Sean's talked a lot about finding what you like in the offense, whether it's RPO or, naked bootlegs or whatever. Are you sort of getting more assertive in the process on Fridays when he asks you what you like?
Yeah, so, every week I give him the calls that I like, and, he goes from there. He calls it how he sees it with the thought, in the back of his mind. He knows what I like. So I thought, especially today early, we got in great rhythm, and we were able to, get the ball out, with a mixture of short and deep passes, intermediate. And, in the second half, we wanted to come out, and, we ran the ball a little bit more. We were a little heavier run. And so I think that, our offense is always evolving. We're always trying to find ways to do better and find yards and move the chains and score touchdowns. And so it was good that at least when we got in the red zone, we scored touchdowns. We gave Lutz a good day off, but I thought that was a good thing. And, it's always, always finding ways to get better, working together as play caller. And, I'm also, a rookie. So there's a time to where, I don't have much say and there's not, much I have to offer in that regard, but I can just go out there and call whatever or run whatever he calls and just try to make it work.
He said he used to get frustrated with guys who wouldn't give him an honest opinion in that process.
Yeah, I don't mind giving him an honest opinion, but I think that's again it goes back. We're evolving and cutting up on the sideline and we're going back and forth and yeah, it's good times out there. Great memories. Thank y'all.
All right. Like I said, I am 100% bought into Bo Nix. Listen, this is our guy, and I've seen what I've needed to see. It's week 8, and I like what I see, and I'm excited. I think there's a lot of upside. And let's bring in my bestie BK, who I get to cover not only the Broncos with, but also the Nuggets. BK, are you going to get sick of me? Because we're about to see a lot of each other.
Wait, gonna get sick of you.
He's already sick of me.
No, I love you. Look, the more time we get to hang out, the better. Have fun hanging out with you at the game yesterday. I had my little kiddos with me too. A lot of fun. The Nugs didn't win. They asked if they could come to the Broncos game today, but my oldest, who's now 18, he didn't go to a Broncos regular season game until he was 13 or so. It'll be the same for them because you just can't waste a regular season ticket. Although there were some open seats here today, as you and your mom, I'm sure, saw. The Panthers aren't a big draw, but the way the Broncos are playing, you would think that they should be the draw on their own. And
I agree.
I had this conversation with a couple different people. We've talked about it, but the difference between this team this year, and you got to give Sean Payton credit as he has turned over the roster and changed the culture, is that in the last handful of years, half dozen years, give or take, when they've had games against lesser opponents, they haven't always put them away. And other than the early turnover and that Carolina touchdown, there was never any doubt. That's why you're faking it on 4th down. You're not worried about going for it on 4th, whatever it may be. The Panthers aren't a very good team. Sean said as much in the post-game comments. So they're not good on offense. We know they're not good on defense right now. And they're really banged up, obviously, there as well, and lost some key players to free agency and trades too. So but we've now seen 3 times where they played 3 lesser teams. And the Raiders were certainly a lesser team when they were here. The Saints, certainly a JV team 10 days ago, and then another team that's nowhere near the level of the teams they'll see the next 2 weeks.
Yeah, I agree. So what did you see? Because I guess I'll start with this. Nate and I just talked for a little bit, and I had him guess where he thought the line was. Have you checked the line for the Ravens Broncos yet?
I haven't, but without looking at it, have you checked it?
I have. So I'm going to let you guess, and then I'm going to tell you what it
Okay,
actually
I know the
is.
Ravens are going to be favorites. I'm going to bet that it's still less than a touchdown, but more than a field goal. So it's probably still like 6.5 because they're coming off the loss. People still aren't bought into the Broncos as an offense, understandably. So am I right? Is it 6.5? Close?
I guessed 7.5. Nate guessed 4.5. It is 9.5 points.
Okay.
Which feels like a lot. Now, I guess so my question is, now we can get into this with you. I think we saw some exciting things happen with this Broncos team, kind of just them continuing to put pieces together, because we've seen little nuggets of what they can do. Defense, I felt great about. I feel great about defense. I'm not worried about that. Offensively, we're starting to kind of click things together. Does 9.5 points feel fair? I mean, we just watched Jameis Winston take down this Ravens team. Obviously, they just got slapped in the mouth by a team that they probably should have beaten. So they're going to be a little bit, I would say, probably
salty,
motivated in this next game. They're probably a little pissed off. So do you feel like 9.5 points is fair, or is this Broncos team trending in the right direction where you trust them to go on the road and compete against a team as good as the Ravens?
I do, for the reason you already touched on. You're not worried about the defense. Defense travels, and we know that. Even in the loss to Seattle, which is, I guess, their toughest road loss, the defense played well. They had a rough third quarter, and that's VJ trying to figure out all his new pieces and all of that. But he is very comfortable with this unit. You see what a healthy Pat Surtain does and what it allows them to do. I wasn't in the locker room because I was waiting on Bo. I didn't get to ask PS2. You know, he missed on the blitz, the delayed blitz, and he comes in, and Bryce Young sneaks outside of him. I have to think that he was a little bummed about that because he would have had a shot at another Alabama guy. And if the math is right, they probably were teammates. They had to have been for a year or two, I would think, just because if Pat's in year 4 and Bryce is in year 2, then you got to think that, he was at least a freshman. Yeah, for sure. So, but that being said, Pat just changes what you can do. You're getting really great play out of Riley Moss. No Deontay Johnson. We know this offense was undermanned, but going back to what the Broncos defense is, when Pat's out there, when they're dialed in, they're getting after it. I don't think VJ went out of his way to do anything exotic today because I don't think he really had to. You know, it felt like Sean was getting a little trickier at times just because he saw some stuff. And in special teams, I guess that's Sean and Ben Katwika and Mike Westhoff. But the defense should keep you in the game. We know Derrick Henry's a load. We know their offense has been the best offense in football all year until today. And so Lamar Jackson is dialed in with 2 really good tight ends. Mark Andrews, we know when healthy, is really good. Likely has come on. And obviously guys that can get down the field and catch the football most of the time. Zay Flowers, Rashad Bateman, although Bateman drops one in the sun, cost me about $926. Not about $926 is what that bet would have had he caught it.
That was a very specific number.
Everything else hit. But anyway, we're not going to pick on Rashad Bateman right now. We'll do that as the week goes on. But they obviously have weapons, and you throw in Aguilar, who we know can make plays. So they can beat you in the air. Lamar can beat you with his legs. He can beat you with his arm. And then Derrick Henry, clearly nothing. There's been no drop off. How a guy that lives in Dallas that signed for $6.5 million in Baltimore wouldn't sign for $6.5 million in Dallas. That to me is the worst move Jerry's made. Even worse than firing Jimmy Johnson is not signing Derrick Henry. But Derrick Henry is a Raven. The Ravens, like you said, are going to be aggravated. John Harbaugh's a heck of a coach. He and Sean are really, really good friends. Sean's probably as close to John Harbaugh as just about anybody. They worked together in Philly a million years ago for Ray Rhodes, and then they've made trades with each other. John Harbaugh was the one that turned him on to Will Lutz when Will Lutz couldn't obviously beat out Justin Tucker, but still is a heck of a kicker we've seen. So I think that it's going to be a fun week, and I think 9.5 point underdogs is exactly what Sean Payton wants, because now he has a reason to get them motivated, right? When you're a heavy favorite and they covered, I bet them up to 17.5. So I felt really good about that. But it was part of a parlay. It didn't all come together. Anyway, I think that Sean's happy to be an underdog, knowing he's going to be an underdog, but it's like, oh, you're not a 3-point underdog. They think that they are going to run us out of the building. I think that's exactly what Sean and his coaching staff is looking for in terms of trying to find motivation for his team.
Yeah, I believe it was you that asked the question about the celebration of what they've done. And I appreciated Sean Payton's response about, even in a win, there's things to work on. And if we get too comfortable with a win against a team like the Panthers, it'll bite us against a team like the Ravens. The Broncos go on the road to face the Ravens, and then after that, they're facing the Chiefs. What did you see from them today that gives you a little bit more hope as they enter this little road stretch? And we know they've actually competed pretty well on the road. So it's not even a matter of being on the road. It's just very stiff competition on the road. What did you see today that you haven't seen yet that makes you feel a little bit more comfortable as we progress in this season?
It's hard to judge because of what Carolina has. I really like Ejiro Evero. I got to know him a little bit in the year he was here, and I've talked to him plenty since. Sean Payton wanted to hire him here before he ultimately hired VJ because he left. Frank Reich hired him in Carolina. There were a bunch of teams that wanted to interview him last year, and I think Miami might have potentially hired him, among others, but he could not get out of his contract in Carolina. But now the defense is a shell of what I'm sure he thought he was going to have coming back, and we understand that. But so it's hard to, I'm saying all that to say it's hard to really gauge what you got from that defense. At the same time, we saw the most efficiency in the passing game, and we just played the clips of Bo Nix, and you heard Jeff Legwold at the end of his press conference asking about his conversations with Sean during the week and telling him what he likes. The more they are together, and that's the thing that we have to remember, is it's only been 8 games, but the more that they're together, the more Sean gets comfortable with Bo and Bo gets comfortable with Sean, and they're able to really work together. And there were so many times today where not only did he hit an open receiver, but he had multiple open receivers. So you know that there's stuff that's working in the passing game. And so that's encouraging. And then they ran the ball against the worst rushing team in defensively in the NFL. Effectively, it wasn't as big a day as I think we all thought, and probably put some of our prop bets. And Javonte Williams looked like he got a little banged up at times. So we'll see how he feels over the next week or so, getting ready for Baltimore. But I think the efficiency in the passing game, Devon Vele healthy, Troy Franklin, that left sideline deep ball, there wasn't sun in his eyes. He's 0 for 2 on those, but they're going to keep going back to it. Even little Jordan Humphrey, you see that they stick with him. He's a vet. The fumble hurts. Cortland, his biggest day in 27 games or whatever.
100 yards.
Yeah. So first time he's at 100 yards, and I think that's what I heard, 27 games or 30, whatever that number is. But then also the tight ends on National Tight End Day, which we know is not a real thing.
Happy National Tight End Day. I love it.
You see Adam Troutman, you see Nate Atkins with his first career touchdown. And so you got to like that they're getting the tight ends involved. Lucas Kroll, even after getting a little
I bet
dinged
Lucas
up on
Kroll
that fake.
anytime touchdown. So I picked the wrong tight end today because the other two
Clearly
ended up in the end zone. So maybe that's the Liv Moods effect. I should stay away from anytime touchdowns.
But that's the other thing that you have to like. And as I'm just staring at the stats here, 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 11 different pass catchers again. And so Bo had already set that record as a Bronco. I think that number was 10 or 11, and he's now matched it, which means all the guys that are wearing numbers where they can catch. Oh, well, that's not true, because one of them was Michael Burton that Bo did not connect to. So Bo hit 10.
Oh, that
and
was
then
Sutton,
Cortland,
wasn't it?
It is worth noting.
That's right.
And I told, because you heard Bo say he's coming for our jobs, when Bo stepped off the podium, I told him, Cortland Sutton's the best passer in the history of the NFL. He is 3 for 3 in his career for 72 yards, all for first downs. Now, he hasn't thrown a touchdown yet, but you got to think that day is coming. And Bo said, well, maybe we should get to it more, as he was kind of walking off from the podium. So we'll see if more Cortland Sutton throws are in the future.
I would love that. Okay, I want to ask you now on the other side of that question. You talked about the positive things you saw and the things that, despite it just being against a Carolina Panthers team that's a very uncertain, unproven team right now, what did you see that you want them to do better as they prepare this week? I know you're going to be in and out of practice maybe later in the week, but what do you want to see differently from them to prepare for a team like Baltimore?
Well, you just don't have the same margin for error, and Sean Payton mentioned that the mistakes they made today will cost them against a better team. It'll cost them against the Ravens. It'll cost them against the Chiefs. They get into the postseason, it'll cost them against any of their postseason opponents, almost certainly. And so you have to protect the football, and that means securing it, especially against, when you look at the Ravens and the Chiefs, who have 2 really good defenses. But the Ravens, we know, are going to fly around and look to force turnovers. So ball security is, I think, paramount. Nix did take a sack, but continuing to be aware. He's obviously been great, and if he was sacked just the one time, if memory serves me right, he's still going to be leading the league in their offense will be sacked the least, with now just
Yep.
9 sacks through 8 games, which is pretty remarkable for a rookie QB, because as Joe Lombardi said the other day, and we've heard John say plenty, that sacks are often more on the quarterback than the O-line. And we know with Russ, that certainly was the case his whole career, last 2 years as well. So, but just be aware of that. Don't beat yourselves. That's what's allowed them when they've gone on the road in the tougher games. When you talk about Tampa, who obviously gave a heck of a game to Atlanta today at home, undermanned with no wideouts there, really. It was a big Kate Otten day there. But the win at Tampa, the gritty win in New York, the ball security has been huge there. So I think that's what you have to fix more than anything. They didn't kill themselves with penalties. And so I think that if they can protect the football, we know the defense will be there, and then they'll have a chance to maybe get a Will Lutz game-winning field goal, or some sort of play that sets up a game-winning toss from Bo Nix to any of his pass catchers.
I love it. Well, BK, go ahead and come up with your game-changing play, good or bad, and we can go ahead and break that down. Well, actually, no, you're not going to be here tomorrow.
I'm not going to be here tomorrow.
I'm going to miss you then. Okay, well, I
will
will
miss
miss you.
you.
But you will be back, I would imagine, at the end of the week,
Midweek.
Friday,
Yeah.
for us to do
Yes,
like a
for
full
sure.
in-depth preview of Baltimore versus Denver. Can the Denver Broncos do it? In the meantime, I know that you'll be stepping away for a little bit, so we'll miss you dearly and greatly. But we'll definitely reconvene with you Friday for another episode of Off Field, talking all things previewing the Broncos game, but also just previewing the whole NFL slate. Hopefully you can make some of that. What was it? $926? Maybe you
Yeah.
can make that back next week.
I'd love to get it back. I mean, it was only a $5 bet, so that's kind of the good thing about those crazy same game parlays. But
it does make it a little easier.
We've missed by a Jahmyr Gibbs touchdown because they were throwing the ball to the O lineman, Detroit against Dallas a couple of weeks ago, and then we missed by a Saquon Barkley touchdown that got called back last week.
Oh,
and
that
then
is the
today,
worst.
Rashad Bateman, a ball hits him in the chest. He loses it in the sun. He points to the sun. On TV, they say it's in the sun, but that would have been $3,000 on $15 worth of bets.
It's disappointing, to say the least, but hopefully
the Broncos
we get it
won,
back.
and that was fun. I am
There
one
you
win
go.
away from hitting the I had him at 6.5. So
I got
we're
him
getting
at 5.5,
closer.
so I'm
getting
one
closer.
win away. We're getting
You're one
really
win
close
away.
to that over,
Yeah,
for sure.
I bet it up to 6.5. So, all right, Liv, great stuff. I appreciate it.
Thank you, BK. We'll see you soon. All right, everybody. So I think that about does it here. We heard from head coach Sean Payton. We heard from Bo Nix, who had his best first half out of any of the games that he has started as a Denver Bronco. Like he even said, he is a rookie and there's going to be mistakes and he's not going to be perfect, but he is showing a lot of promise and a lot of upside. And every week I have found something about Bo Nix that I like a little bit more than I did last week. And I think that's a really great position to be in when you have a rookie quarterback. So feeling very hopeful, feeling very excited. The Broncos are now 5-3 after a 28-14 win against the Carolina Panthers. Yes, I know it's just the Carolina Panthers, but shut your pie hole. I'm excited about it, and I will continue to celebrate until I can't anymore, which could be next weekend against the Ravens, but we're not going to think that way. Nate Jackson tells me all the time, think glass half full, not half empty. I'm going to do my very best. A lot of exciting things happening for this Broncos team. We're feeling good. We're feeling pumped. Shout out to the Broncos. Shout out to everything that's going on over there. Shout out to Sean Payton. I didn't trust you very much at the beginning, full transparency, but you are definitely trending in the right direction. I'm starting to see your plan unfold, and I'm very excited about what this Broncos team is doing. So thank you so much for tuning in for another post-game live reaction Broncos show with Off Field. I am your host, Liv Moods. We will be back again tomorrow without BK, but I will have Nate Jackson with me in the studio live at 11 a.m. Mountain Time for another episode of Off Field. So don't miss out. We'll have all things Broncos, Nuggets, Avalanche. We are covering your favorite teams 7 days a week. Nobody sleeps around here. We're making sure you guys get the highest quality content at all times. So thank you for tuning in to All Things Guerrilla Sports. I'm Liv Moods, and we'll see you tomorrow morning for another episode of Off Field.